Knopf Clipper Hi, friends. Darth Momo here, and today we're talking about the Sequel Trilogy. This isn't a video to talk about how quote-unquote bad they are, or how they messed up, or what they should have been about. That's been done, and that horse has long since been beaten. What I want to discuss is the idea of whether a sequel trilogy really should have ever been made to begin with. Yes, I too was excited as we approached the release date of The Force Awakens. The idea of seeing post-Return of the Jedi adventures with Luke, Han, and Leia was exciting. A new Star Wars movie was beyond thrilling. But that's because I too was a fan who grew up with these movies, and I was looking at it through emotional lenses, not logical ones. Yes, you can only be so objective when it comes to a subjective topic like art, but if we're going to be as objective as possible, was a sequel trilogy really needed? The prequels, whether you love them or hate them, they were baked in from the beginning with the original trilogy being labeled episodes 4 through 6. But were episodes 7 through 9 baked in as well? We're going to be looking at this from two different angles, within the context of episodes 4 through 6, and within the context of 1 through 6. Starting with the complete George Lucas saga, The Phantom Menace introduces our main character Anakin, the main antagonist in Palpatine and the Sith, and the main goal in the movies, the Chosen One prophecy to bring balance to the Force and destroy the Sith. We're also introduced to a dying republic, baked in corruption and in need of reform. And when we fast forward to episode 6, we see the completion of the story. Our main character dies after completing his arc. The villain is defeated, the Sith are destroyed, the prophecy is fulfilled, and the corrupted republic that became the Empire is now on set to become the New Republic. Anything afterwards would be more or less an epilogue. But Momo, those story threads are more or less established by George's bad prequels, and the originals alone allow for sequels. Well, is that the case? Let's look at the original films alone. Luke is our main character, and when you look at him in the beginning of the first film and look at where he ends up in the third film, his arc is complete. He fulfills the hero's journey. Han Solo's arc is also complete. He goes from the selfish anti-hero to a rebellion war hero. Han and Leia successfully fall in love. The main villains of the trilogy, Vader, Palpatine, and the Empire, are all defeated. The story wraps up in a different context than looking at it through 1 through 6, but it wraps up all the same. The Jabba storyline is wrapped up, the Luke sister plotline is resolved, Return of the Jedi literally ends with a neat little bow on it. The heroes get their happy ending. But Momo, what about the Imperial Remnant? Well, sure, there's some loose bits out there, but the Death Star 2 exploding, along with the destruction of most of the Imperial fleet at Endor, and the deaths of the Emperor and Vader is symbolically the end of the Empire. But Momo, what about when Yoda tells Luke to pass on what he has learned? That story thread hasn't been wrapped up. Sure, but that's not an unresolved plotline. That's merely a character acknowledging the point of his existence and what he's meant to carry on and do after the story ends. Sure, there's future stories for the characters, the new Jedi Order, rebuilding the Republic, etc. But the story of the films isn't about every single event in galactic history. The story is about the rise and fall of the Empire through the eyes of the Skywalkers and those close to them. At the end of the Return of the Jedi, the Empire falls. The main story is effectively over and every character has completed their arc. Anything else is merely an epilogue or in some cases a prologue. Sometimes I've seen people wish that the Star Wars sequels worked to make a satisfying build-up and payoff similar to what the MCU did with Avengers Endgame. A valid desire nonetheless, but here's the thing. The sequels couldn't do that because that moment already exists in Star Wars. The throne room scene in Return of the Jedi literally serves as the culmination of everything that came before. The prequels, originals, animated stuff, etc. It all serves to build up to that moment. That is the climax. The story resolves here. There was no way any sort of sequels could ever tell a story that furthered the narrative in a satisfying way. Are there still stories to tell? Absolutely. Such as in the case of Luke passing on what he has learned. But are those stories big enough to be in episodes 7 through 9? Not really. Any new adventures would effectively be the beginning of new stories. The villains would be brand new, and the arcs for the pre-established characters would be new, not continuations of the arcs in the previous 3 or 6 films, since those are effectively concluded. In the example of Luke's New Jedi, while that story could be interesting, would it really serve as a proper episode 7? Not really. I'm not saying we should never see the characters again, but I am saying it shouldn't be in the form of episodes 7 through 9, because to be quite frank, they're narratively unnecessary. And I'm not saying this as a sequel hater. I actually rather enjoy at least one of the entries in the trilogy. But whether I enjoy it or not, there really didn't need to be a sequel trilogy in the first place.
Thanks for watching. Please subscribe to the channel. If you liked the video, comment down below and hit that like button. Oh, and check out some of my other videos. I'm sure you'll find them in the light.